Hey guys, I'm sorry. I know this is like my 20th video on the Free Britney movement, but I had to talk about Brian's interview, Jamie's recent comment about Britney, and I had a request from James Byrne. Thank you so much for the request to talk about her family. I guess to sort of do like a background on her family and stuff. And I feel like Brian's interview did a lot to sort of touch on where they're all at. So I thought I would go over that while it's still relevant rather than push this out another week. And then next week I have a request ready to film and put up. Oh my gosh, now my nose is running. I'm so sorry. If my baby wakes up, he's gonna wake up screaming. I don't know why lately he wakes up from like 0 to 60 most of the time. Maybe he'll wake up and just stare. Now he's gonna be waking up right now. I'm gonna try and get this done as quickly as I can. So first of all, I want to talk court update. Britney was supposed to do like a virtual court. I think there was like a court date right before this past one that she didn't show up for. And now they had set it up to be like a virtual thing and she didn't come. And people are speculating that nobody's telling her about this because why would they? They want her to not show up. They want to take control. So I don't know what's going on there. That's just a speculation that I've heard. But Jamie, her father, won this one request he's had in court about keeping all the court records private and clearing out the courtroom so that no one in the Free Britney movement will have any information on what's happening. And the judge sided with him, and so that's what's going to be happening from now on. Oh, there's a baby foot. Oh, somebody's waking up. Okay, let me keep moving. So, to quickly touch on Jamie. Jamie was a building contractor. He married Lynn Spears, I believe, in 1976. And they divorced in the year 2001. They reconciled in 2010, but I know right now they're not like together and getting along because they're having differences with the conservatorship. He worked a lot of out-of-state jobs because Kentwood, Louisiana is very small. Like, I want to say it's like 1,200 people or something ridiculous like that. It's a very, very small town and there's no jobs. So he would often work, I think it was on the Mississippi border. He would often work like in Mississippi and stuff to make money for the family. And from what I've heard, Britney and the kids weren't very close to Jamie growing up because he was never really around. Not to mention Lynn was the one that traveled with Britney when she did shows and stuff. And from what I've heard, he had a history, I believe, of alcohol abuse. And the kids were kind of scared of him. Not that he was necessarily physically abusive or anything like that, but from what I can tell, he was the disciplinarian, and he sounds like he was kind of a bully, so it's interesting that he was the one to jump in and take over this conservatorship in the first place. Now, he recently, just a few days ago, told Page 6 that the Free Britney movement, quote, is a joke. All these conspiracy theorists don't know anything. The world don't have a clue. It's up to the court of California to decide what's best for my daughter. It's no one else's business. I love my daughter. I love all my kids, but this is our business. It's private. So, yeah, sure, it's a family matter. But if Britney can't have a voice in that matter, and this private management who's been managing her very poorly for the past 15 years, prior to the conservatorship and everything, has led to this, then I think it needs to be more of a public matter. I think Britney needs more help than what she's getting. And to me, that just speaks to like, and this is my opinion, this isn't fact, this isn't anything, whatever, but to me that just speaks to an abusive mentality and an abusive home life that he's like, this is private, this is nobody else's business. Like, I understand if people are really blowing this out of proportion, which I don't think we are, but I understand him saying like, look, we all get that you're looking out for Britney. We love Britney. We appreciate that her fans care that much about Britney. We're going to do what's best for her. He's not saying that. First of all, he's saying the court needs to decide what's best for his daughter. Like, you can't even fucking decide that. And that calling everyone conspiracy theorists and stuff because they don't agree that Britney should not be allowed to drive a car or have a cell phone or be able to spend her own fucking money that she's busted her ass to earn. Like, we're conspiracy theorists because we think Britney should have a right to spend her own money. That's a joke. I mean, you're an idiot. I have no respect for Jamie Spears whatsoever. Touching on Lynn Spears, she owned and operated a daycare in Kentwood and later worked as a school teacher, again, to help make ends meet because there wasn't a lot of jobs around that area. She also has written or co-written 2 books with Britney, and those have given a lot of insight to their life growing up, especially in terms of Jamie, from what I've heard. She was also, like I said, the one that would travel with Britney as a child, with the Mickey Mouse Club. When they went to New York, Britney, I would think, was an understudy on Broadway, all that stuff, Lynn was there for. Now, after Jamie was born, Jamie's much younger than Britney. She's like 9 years younger or something. After Jamie was born, Lynn had to stay home, and that was, or not, she didn't have to stay home, but like once Britney got really big, Jamie was still in elementary school. So Lynn had to stay home to take care of Jamie Lynn, and they sent Felicia Collada, who, I love Felicia. Anyone who is a big Britney fan knows who Felicia is. Felicia was a family friend, a good friend of Lynn's, and a trusted friend. And they sent her to sort of watch over Britney and take care of Britney while she was on tour, because she was still pretty young. Like, she was 16 when she blew up. She worked for Britney. I'm saying this information off the top of my head, but she worked for Britney through when she met Kevin, through when she was pregnant. She was on that chaotic show that they did. I want to say it was right up before Britney's breakdown. And Felicia quit, I believe, just to, like, Felicia originally wasn't going to be with Britney for a long time, only for like a year. And then she just kept working, kept staying with Britney. And I think she finally wanted to take time off and live her life at home, you know, what she had planned on doing. So she took off, and that's when everything kind of went downhill. So I see a correlation. Some other people have seen a correlation. As soon as Felicia was out of the picture, Britney's best interest was out of the picture, basically. After the conservatorship picked back up again, or came into place, I believe Felicia, I want to say like in 2009 or something like that. I could be totally wrong. Came back into Britney's life. But at that point, I mean, Felicia couldn't really do anything about conservatorship. She could do what she could to make Britney happy and be there for Britney. So, but anywho, that's basically what happened with Britney as far as being out, not with her parents, anything like that. Felicia was kind of her parent, but Felicia was also a really good friend to her. So it's kind of like being watched by a big sister. Jamie Lynn, who was born in 1991, she got her debut in 2002. She was 11 years old. She played the younger Lucy in Crossroads, which was who Britney played in her one film that she made. Jamie Lynn then went on to be, I believe it was season 8 cast member of All That. It was like a revival of All That from the 90s, because I think it had taken like a few year break. And then at age 14, she began starring in her own show on Nickelodeon called Zoe 101. Now, very famously, 2 years later, when Jamie Lynn was 16, she got pregnant. She lost her show. She was kind of like a joke, really bullied by the tabloids and everything. It was a huge deal that she got pregnant at 16, which, yeah, it is a big deal that she got pregnant at 16, but Jesus, like, that's something that Jamie could have spoken up then and been like, this is a private matter. But she is now thriving, doing very well. She's a country music singer now, and she has 2 children. I believe Brian, I'll go on him next. I think he has 1 daughter, and he's married, and I think Jamie Lynn is married as well. It's okay. So Brian, let's get into that. Brian is the oldest of the three Spears children. He is 3.5 years older than Britney. He was a senior in college when Britney got really famous. And they were very close growing up, and they still are. He is a producer now. It says he's a film and TV producer, but I think he's mostly just produced what Jamie Lynn and Britney have done. And I'll be right back. Okay, let's see if I can get through the rest of this before he starts fussing again. So Brian, I think he was kind of like, I don't understand exactly what his role was in Britney's business relationship, but he says that he took things over from 2003 to 2009, sort of in a general sense, as in he was like the point of contact, I think, for like the business manager, the branding, the fragrances, you know, whatever. He knew how the money was coming in and where it was going out, and making sure that money was set aside to take care of Britney, take care of her kids, etc. Now, he says that after the 2009 circus tour, which would have been a year after the conservatorship started, so she was fine to go on tour but not handle her own money or cell phone or drive, that he felt like there was burnout then, and that Britney deserved a break. I mean, not before that, not when she was having a baby, having another baby, raising those babies, surrounded by thousands of paparazzi, going through a divorce, being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Why does that sound weird? Is that right? I don't know. Going through two, what do they call them? The psychiatric holds, which that's a whole other debacle. Didn't deserve a break then, but yeah, after the circus tour, yeah, she was burnt out. It's so funny because I always liked Brian, because I knew very little about him. But when this interview came out, something just rubbed me wrong about him. It was the way he tried to, excuse me, I'm so sorry that I'm rubbing my nose right now, but I'm trying to do this quickly without editing, and this is a burp cloth. It's going to throw up on it and stuff in a minute anyways. It was like, I liked Brian because Britney loves Brian, and she's very close to Brian. And I always was under the impression that he stayed out of the public, that wasn't like of interest to him. I don't know, but something about this interview just made me think that maybe he's a little bit like their dad. I don't know. But, so he does say that back when he took over, he hired someone from Nashville to do a full audit of Britney's business, of everything. And he sort of cleaned house and got rid of a ton of people, and that he was he said, quote, he wasn't very well liked amongst the team, but that he thinks he did the right thing for Britney in the end, getting rid of a lot of the people that he did. I don't know exactly when this was. This would have been within his 2003 to 2009 range that he claims he was in charge. He claims that he doesn't follow the Free Britney movement, doesn't know a lot about it, and wonders, do we think that she's being, quote, confined or something, or held against her will? Which makes me think, did he talk to TMZ and give them that whole bullshit thing about no one's being held against their will? No one thinks she's being held against her will, Brian. We think that she doesn't have civil rights and basic human rights, and she's a workhorse. She's being put to work and doesn't get to enjoy it herself. Like, doesn't get to spend her own money without asking for permission. He's also quoted to have said in that interview, and I had mixed feelings about this, I'll go into that, but he said, quote, the women in this family are very, very strong-minded and have their own opinion, and they want to do what they want to do. And as much as I admire that as a guy, and being like one of two guys in this entire family, it kind of sucks, man, talking to the interviewer. But then he elaborates that it's like he kind of tried to hint that the women are the ones in control of the family, which sounded to me like he said the wrong thing, and then he tried to backtrack and be like, but the women are the strong-minded ones. So he says also later When I heard just that quote, I'll just say this because I'll go in order of my notes, but I'll just address this. When I first heard that quote, I thought, okay, he grew up in the South. He grew up in the South. I did as well. And there is a mentality of like, oh, she's an opinionated woman, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like Southern men like that don't think that they're being misogynistic or anything like that. They're just like, oh, you know, the culture that we're brought up in is like the women are in the kitchen, but the women are strong-minded in the South. And the men are, you know, bring home the bacon, all that, whatever. It's not seen so much down here, or at least it wasn't, as being like a sexist point of view. It was just, you know, you can't push the women around in this family. They're strong Southern women, blah, blah, blah. But yet that's like an annoying thing to the men, like that the women have opinions. I don't know, it's weird. And the interviewer was very quick to point out, like, well, that, you know, that just kind of sounds constitutional to me, that they should have their own opinions. Like, he very jokingly and politely sort of gave Brian shit for saying that, which I'm glad he did. But I didn't immediately hate Brian for saying that or be like, ew, you know, because I understand that mentality. That was kind of like the world that I've grown up in, so I get it. It's just sort of an old Southern mentality. But when he goes and says something further later, I'll get into that, I was like, ugh. So I think he was just complaining about being surrounded by women and his family at first. Now, the interviewer, Drew Plotkin, then explains the Free Britney movement a little more, saying, I don't think it's like a physical hold thing. I think it's just that people are, you know, complaining that she doesn't get to spend her own money. She didn't get to do whatever. And Brian says that there was a need for it in the beginning, as everybody knows, meaning, you know, she went through all the breakdown and everything. And now I don't know who he means with they've, but they've made some changes, and all we can do is hope for the best, which was weird, because that's not all you can do. I think the whole family could step up and do a lot more. I think people who have ever worked with Britney could step up and do a lot more. So that was kind of weird. He doesn't know who started the idea of the conservatorship. The interviewer specifically asked him that, and he says he doesn't know where the idea came from, but it happened. And in the beginning, he said he admits that it was hard for Britney to give up control, as it would be with anybody. And then he says that around that time, he and his mom did not speak for about 6 months, which was weird for his family. He didn't say why. And my guess is that Lynn, maybe from the get-go, didn't want this conservatorship to happen. Maybe she knew how she knows how Jamie is. I think that she was worried about it happening at all, but then especially it being run sort of by Jamie. I think that worried Lynn from the get-go. And now Lynn is now stepping up to do her part to at least try and get some control as well, or help Britney get out of it. She's famously gone around Instagram and stuff and liked all the Free Britney stuff. So it's not some bullshit conspiracy theory like Jamie likes to say. Like, Lynn is on board with it, okay? He says the family came together and not everyone agreed with it. Again, Lynn. He thinks that it was the right choice at the time and that the conservatorship has been a great thing for our family. What about for Britney? I mean, like, yeah, it's been a great thing for your family. You all get her money. You all get to do it. Like, he's saying all this from a really nice fucking mansion, might I add. Which is fine. It's what Britney wanted for him. But, like, you all are controlling her money. Not you all specifically. Brian is not a part of the conservatorship. I'm not saying that he's controlling it. But it's like you all are benefiting from her being this workhorse. But yet she doesn't have a control or say over anything. It's like, how can you love someone that much and care for someone that much and then be like, but you shouldn't control the money, but you should continue to bust your ass and go on tours and stuff. Like, that's so unfair. Now, he says that the family, he admits that there's certain things that they disagree with Jamie on when it comes to certain decisions he makes for Britney, but overall, it's gone well. He says that even though there's one person on stage, and I don't know if he means literally as in Britney is the one on stage in the spotlight, or if he's saying that metaphorically as in Jamie is in charge, so Jamie's on stage. So even though there's one person on stage, everyone in the family has sacrificed to keep it going. like, everyone has done their part to keep the conservatorship going, or everything has done their part to keep Britney sane. I don't know what he's talking about there. It's a little hazy. Then he says that he assumes Britney would want to get out of it. Then he follows that up with, I speak with her constantly, and then says, yeah, she's always wanted to get out of it. So that was weird. Like, and other people have pointed out how weird that is, that he was like, well, I assume she'd want to get out of it. And then, well, yeah, she's always wanted out of it. Well, which one is it, Brian? Like, I feel like Brian was told to do this interview and was put out to do this interview as like a fresh voice from the family and be like, no, everything's fine. It's being handled, whatever. And then like his sort of real truth would slip. Real information would slip out, and then it would kind of be like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. I don't know. It was weird. He points out that, he says that she's surrounded, and this is very true, she's been surrounded by a team of people since she was 15 years old. And at what level does everyone walk away, or at what level does that get reduced? He says he knows what she wants, but at the end of the day, what is the reality of that, of getting out of the conservatorship? And then he points out, like, okay, so, like, say it ends today. He says, quote, are you going to call and make reservations today? Pointing out, you know, like, is Britney going to handle it? And the interviewer says, well, that's what an assistant is for. And Britney has more than enough money to hire assistants. She can have as many assistants as she wants to handle that shit. Like, her not having to do adult things for all this time because everyone's handled it for her is not Britney's fault. And she should not be kept in a conservatorship where she doesn't have civil rights because of that. Like, that's so fucking stupid to me. He says, he also said that we've done many shows since she's been in the conservatorship. And then the interviewer points out, yet she has to ask for money to go shopping. Like, that's kind of the point of this, Brian. Bless you. Brian thinks that the concern of her getting out is her personal development, and that she has to learn how to be an adult on her own. He thinks that everyday tasks will be difficult, and then goes on to joke about her being the worst driver in the world, and that she hasn't had to do that for a long time. Now, she used to love driving. Now, whether or not she's a terrible driver, yeah, she's been seen hitting some parked cars when paparazzi were following her. Sure. But I mean, again, she has the money to, like, hire a driver. Like, these everyday tasks that are so difficult for her, she could either try and learn on her own, or she has the money to fucking hire assistants to do it for her. But that would be her choice. That's the point. Her dad and all these handlers wouldn't be doing everything for her and keeping her from learning these things. The way Brian kept up, this is the part that I took note of. The way Brian keeps talking about, he said, quote, it's annoying how many females I have in this house. And he talks about how opinionated they are. The interviewer kind of gave him more shit over that, and I'm glad he did. Like, it was just like, it gave me this attitude that I feel like Jamie must have of, like, I don't know why these women keep yapping at me. Like, I'm handling it. Like, I'm the boss, blah, blah, blah. It just rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. I feel like that's a mentality he must have gotten from Jamie. And then lastly, he talked about Britney's kids briefly. He said that when Britney was doing her Vegas run, Brian and Britney actually lived together during that time. And she had her sons every other weekend. So Brian got to see them every other weekend. Now that he's back in Louisiana, he doesn't see the kids that much. But they do see them and Kevin at certain family engagements for the kids. Like, probably if the kids have, like, school program or something, they'll see Kevin there. So my hope is that she's still getting them every other weekend. But at least according to Brian, that was what was happening during the Vegas residency. And I know there was talk of how she was going to handle seeing her kids during that. So I'm sure that's true. And I'm hoping that's still going on for her sake. My son keeps sticking his hand in his throat and choking himself. Stop. So, yeah, that is all I have for today. Again, I'm sorry that I'm talking about Britney again, but I'm really riled up about this whole topic. Next week, I will have a regular video again. It's going to be a request video that I've already got all the research done for. But, yeah, I hope hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button below. If you would like to see more videos, please hit the subscribe button. I got it backwards. Oh no, I got my outro wrong. Please hit the subscribe button below. I upload new videos every Wednesday. If you have requests for videos, true crime or otherwise, please leave those in the comments below. And other than that, I will see you guys next week. Bye.